This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News. News-free Dixie for the 21st century. They were very unhappy with me to get on that King case, like that rifle they've got down in the Civil Rights Museum. That isn't even close to being a murder weapon. What he actually got shot with was an XM21, that is a converted M14, with a special stainless steel barrel that had a rate of rifling twist of 1 turn in every 11 1/4 inches, instead of 1 turn in 10 like that weapon down there. They shot him with a special subsonic 162 grain bullet. Subsonic means it's not going faster than the speed of sound, and it doesn't produce a crack. It also went through what they call a suppressor manufactured by Psionics that was fitted to the XM21. Psionics is the company that made that MAC-10 for a long time. You see in all the adventure movies from the 70s. Now, the barrel was stainless steel, and the Army Marksmanship Unit made 63 of them. Well, there is an invoice I have perused from late December 1967 that reflects that the FBI got 5 of these weapons issued to it out of the 63, and everybody was upset saying, why do they need it? We need them for long-range recon, sniper units, SEAL teams, etc., and Special Marine shooters. So why does the FBI get 5? That's before the hostage rescue unit. Anyway, later on, it shows up in the spring of 1968, the FBI only has 4 of these left, not 5. So the shot did not come from the flop house. It did not come from the bushes. It came from the cafeteria in the fire station dormitory. 2 men went up to the top of the tower 2 days before and checked the scene out, and then the cafeteria had bolted down tables, and the shots were fired from those bolted down tables when the windows were slid back a little bit, about 10 feet in. Point blank shot. If they'd shot him with a standard 30 caliber, anything 30-06, 308, 7.62 from that range with an expanding bullet, the victim could have been standing next to the emergency room door, and it's non-survivable. But because they used subsonic ammunition that had much less energy, they attempted a headshot that they almost missed. Now what happens is the bullet goes from top down at an angle through King's right cheekbone. It takes out some molars, it rips up his tongue, it leaves the body as it passes between the lower jaws. He would have survived that. It hits his it hits his collarbone, and it ricochets along the collarbone under the skin, which is not unusual. It clips the carotid artery. And as it passes along the clavicle, it travels over his right shoulder, down across his right back from high right to lower left, and lines up trapped between the skin and his left scapula. It never penetrates the thorax. So King bleeds out from this clipped carotid artery. In other words, they almost missed a shot.
Wow.
Captain Tommy Smith let me see Memphis Police Department's homicide files. Do you know they showed that it was MPD's conclusion that James Earl Ray was not the gunman?
I didn't know that. Wow.
And Smith, when he was the first homicide man to get there, within 10 minutes after the accident, the shooting, says that there was a tree limb, and he indicates on a video how thick, growing diagonally through the flop house bathroom window, such that you could not see the Lorraine Motel at all. The shot couldn't have come where they claimed, because it wasn't doable. And the two witnesses were so full of alcohol, he had to call 911 and have them transported, and they were effectively in a coma for a couple of days with a .73 and 78 BAC, which is twice the fatal dose of alcohol.
Well, actually, why are people pointing to I guess the flop house?
Because
okay,
one of the functions of the suppressor that they had on there is to confuse the sound signature. You want to use it in a jungle, so instead of the Viet Cong or the NVA saying it's right over there, they point somewhere else. Now, where they're pointing to is also interesting because there was a door open in the firehouse at that day, and it would have channeled such sound as there was out that door. So you would have had a reflection off of that slight embankment.
And what about the Burrell McCullough figure? I mean, the guy kneeling over Dr. King.
He winds up being the first African American to be a commissioned officer with the CIA.
Wow. And what actually is, because he was also known as an invader, right? He was posing as an invader, or was he an invader, a Memphis invader?
Dr. Colby Smith says he was not an invader. He was he was a cop, sworn policeman.
Okay. And, well, I heard recently in the last couple of years before he died that Charles Cabot, one of the co-founders of the Invaders, confessed to being an FBI informant. Is that true, to your knowledge?
May have been, but I will tell you this. J. Edgar Hoover called the audio and visual surveillance off personally 48 hours before the killing.
Yeah, because his man Frank Holloman was over the police and fire department, right? Frank Holloman, that was the FBI man who was the director.
Yeah, former FBI man. He was one
number
of
3. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is like deep. So what about
Claude Armour, who was still the fire commissioner at the time, had also been number 2 man for J. Edgar.
Oh wow. So you had a lot of the G-men. We know Hoover didn't like Martin Luther King at all. There was no love lost. So.
Yeah. Well, we also got the memoranda, internal FBI memoranda. And they were discussing whether or not to kill King and whether he'd be more dangerous as a dead martyr or as somebody to revitalize labor and galvanize the anti-war movement. They weren't interested in him in civil rights, but it was anti-war and labor.
It really was messing with their bottom line. It was all about that money. Like, as long as he was integrating lunch counters, he was good. When he started messing with the policy, the public policy and all this stuff, and the war.
Well, see, J. Edgar Hoover had a theory that all of the civil rights leaders and the black preachers in the black churches were communist fronts.
Okay. I don't like with the King thing. I'm just curious, like, you know, I know you said that Jesse didn't have anything to do with the King assassination, but what about any inside players you think of, like, you know, people that we admire now?
We have our suspects.
Okay.
Now, more is to come on it. By the way, it's not Jesse Jackson. It's not Reverend Lowry. They aren't the suspects.
Billy Cowles, Reverend Billy Cowles. Yeah.
I'm not making. It will be developed when we get enough to hang the hat on. But it's not Jesse Jackson, and it's not Reverend Lowry.
Okay, gotcha.